Joining me right now is CNN legal analyst and former federal prosecutor Shan Wu. Shan, good to see you. So we understand, and happy holidays, we understand that a lower court did order the company to comply with the subpoena and handed over information about its activity in a criminal investigation, but now to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court to say, take a pause, don't honor this subpoena. How likely would that be that the court would entertain that request?
Well, it's been appealed to Chief Justice Roberts, probably in his capacity in terms of overseeing the D.C. Circuit. A little hard to know what the outcome will be without really knowing the specific legal arguments. It's been reported that one of the arguments is the notion that if it's a foreign country that owns the bank and causes us to speculate which country it might be, that is an argument saying that perhaps the U.S. lacks the jurisdiction over it. Sounds like the D.C. Circuit rejected that argument, and I would venture to say it's likely that the Supreme Court would probably reject that as well. I think what's important to know is it's not unusual that it isn't secret, though, because it's the 6E grand jury secrecy rules that's forcing that to be in secret.
So it's not unusual that the name of the company or entity or even the country of its origin would remain secret even in a grand jury setting.
Exactly, Fred. I think there's been a lot of speculation over the secrecy of it, but any grand jury proceeding is kept secret under Rule 6E. Now, the government, court, everyone is bound by that. The people subpoenaed or the company subpoenaed is not bound by that, but they may have their own reasons for not wanting to publicize that. So this in and of itself being secret is not unusual. I think if we speculate as to where the Mueller investigation is going with it, rather intriguing. They obviously have been interested in foreign influences, and they could be following that path. But one thing that one has to wonder about is if they end up looking under the wrong rock that perhaps the president doesn't want them to look under, whether or not he'll be putting pressure on acting Attorney General Whitaker to put the kibosh on that.
So there could be consequences, maybe not just for the grand jury or rules in place, but perhaps even for the Mueller team, if indeed the Supreme Court were to order this company or entity to, reveal itself or comply with the subpoena?
Yeah, absolutely. The investigation has its own secret reasons for wanting this information. And if the court were to say that, no, you lack jurisdiction over it, then they would be stymied in terms of getting that. And again, there are, better national security experts than me and foreign banking experts that could narrow down which countries it might be. But it would definitely affect the investigation.
Okay, and then let's switch gears just a little bit, because the president's lawyers now have said that they might try to block Mueller's report from becoming public. There are reports, that it's right around the corner. It soon could be, coming down the pipeline. But on today's State of the Union, incoming chair of the House Intelligence Committee, Representative Adam Schiff, told Jake Tapper that he is prepared to use subpoena power to force the report's release if it comes to that. Take a listen.
We ought to make sure this report is public. Now, there may be parts of the report that have to be redacted because they involve classified information or they involve grand jury material. But here's the thing. For the last 2 years, I've been warning the Justice Department as they've been turning over tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of pages of investigative files in the Clinton email investigation that whatever precedent they were going to set, they were going to have to live by, which means that when the Mueller investigation is over, they're not going to be in a position to say, we're not going to provide information to Congress about this investigation. So they've already decided that's the precedent they're going to live by. And at the end of the day, this case is just too important to keep from the American people what it's really about.
All right, Shan, what's your response to that?
Well, I agree with that sentiment. It's certainly too important to the American people to keep it. Whether or not legally that's going to work out in terms of public disclosure, that's a big question. And it kind of takes us right back to who is the AG and who is in charge of it. The Justice Department, with a pro-Trump Attorney General who does not want any damaging information to come out, could easily try to suppress that report. And unlike older statutes which talked about the independent counsel reports, this is very hazy in terms of specifically requiring any kind of formal report. So that would probably be litigated. I mean, if the House tried to subpoena it, Justice refused, we'd be right at the D.C. Circuit and then right at the Supreme Court.
All right, Shan Wu, thank you so much. Good to see you and happy holidays.
You too, Fred.
We'll be right back.